Hello and welcome back to virtualtraining.us. My name is Devin Gandhi. In today's lesson, we're going to continue with Inter-Vlan routing concept. This is a part 3 of 3-part series video. In part 1, we configured the Cisco switch with multiple VLANs. In part 2, we configured the Cisco 1841 router as a router on a stick. So in this part, we're going to configure the optional items which are good to have but not necessary. So in this lesson, I'm going to configure the banner, logging, SSH, and we'll go over some of the show command. So let's go ahead and get started. Our topology hasn't changed, so we're still using the same topology. So let me go ahead and bring up my switch real quick. I'm going to connect to and Alright, so first thing what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and configure the banner. What is banner? So anytime anyone's actually telnet or SSH into your devices, either a router or a switch, you want to present them with some sort of warning saying, hey, this is a private network, any unauthorized access is prohibited. So I have a sample banner that I'm going to put out there. Um, right here, this is, hey, this is a company's private network, warning, everything's being logged and stuff like that. So let me go and copy this real quick. I'm going to copy it, come back here and do config t banner logging, and then it has to start with some characters so the system knows, hey, this is the start of the banner, and it has to end with the same characters. So I'm just going to paste the whole thing in here, do enter a couple of times, and I'm going to end with the same percentage character. So now system knows that, hey, this is actually the this is end of the banner. So once you exit off of it, you have to, right now I'm console into the switch, so it's not going to present that to me, but when you actually telnet into it, I'll show you how actually the banner actually appear. So the second thing we're going to configure in here is the logging. So there are two types of logging. There is a local logging, which is collected by the device itself, and there's a remote logging. So there are third-party software, like a SolarWind has one called Kivisys Logger, which gives you 5 user or five devices uh, that'll collect the syslog information basically for you. It has some limitation, but I mean it's a good place to start if you need to see how the thing works basically. So let's go into configuration mode. Let's do logging on, logging buffer. I'm just gonna do 5K. Um, so logging. So once we do this, let's do show logging. Right now it doesn't have any much of the information it's collected so far. So let's do this. Just show you an example. Let's do clear logging, and then I'm gonna do config t, and I'm gonna just shut down one of the port. So I think I'm connected on port number 23. So let me do this. If I do interface FA023, and if I do shut, if I go and say do show logging, there you go. Say this is what it logged basically. It says, hey, interface FAST Ethernet 23 changed to admin down, and it's down right now. So if I come back here and say, hey, no, shut, it should log that message as well. So if I go back and say do show logging, you should see the second one now. Let's do this. Show logging. There you go. So the second message, it says right here that hey, interface uh, fast Ethernet 023 came up. The line protocol came up, and it's up right now because my computer is connected to that. So that's why it shows that message right now. So this is what logging does. Basically, it captures whatever the health of the system is, whatever the error messages. So that's what the logging does. So it's good to start play with it local login first, and then once you get comfortable, start doing the remote login, and you'll see anytime somebody makes change to the system, it captures those log. Anytime somebody saves a config, it'll say, well, hey, it was last config was done by this person. Right here it shows console because I'm logged in via console right now, so that's why it says console. So that's logging, and the third option we're going to configure is SSH. So SSH is a similar to Telnet but more secure. So most companies nowadays use SSH versus Telnet because Telnet is all plain text. So if you want to configure the SSH, the first thing we need to do is configure. We need to create the crypto key. So let's do config t. Let's do crypto key generate RSA, and modulo is going to be 1024. So it's creating the key first. In order to create a key, you have to have a domain name assigned to the switch. I mean, it could be anything, but so in our case, our host name for the switch is data switch 1001, and we put the domain name as a cisco.com, so it actually tagged the whole thing. It says this is going to be the how the key is going to be generated under this domain name, basically. So the key has been generated. So now we're going to go ahead and tell the system we want to use the version 2 of SSH. So IP SSH version 2. So what happens now is if I go and say, hey, I want to connect to my switch via, let's do one more thing before we connect. If I do show run and begin with line. So right now, if you see right here, it says the we haven't specified what transport we want to use. So right now we can use either SSH or Telnet, but I want to specify the transport we want to use. I don't want to use Telnet. I want to use SSH. So I'm going to come here and say, let's do line VTY 015. I'm going to say transport input SSH only. Now if I put a telnet behind it, then either one will work. But I want to use SSH only, so I'm just going to say SSH and hit enter. Now there's one more change I have to make. So if you look right here, I also have a local password, and I'm saying it's a login is locally. I want to use a local database login. So I'm going to show you something real quick, and then I will go and make the change. So if I come here and say, hey, I want to use telnet into that switch now, it should refuse my connection. There you go. Because I'm telling the switch to use SSH only. So if I go back here again and change that to SSH, then I'll get the login prompt. And here's a banner that I was referring to. So it tells them, hey, yeah, this is a private system and stuff like that. So if I do a Cisco as a username and Cisco 123 as a password, authentication still fail. So what I need to do basically come back here and remove the local password, and I want to change this to login local. So I'll do no password. I'll say login local. So once I make that change, I should be able to now If I do refresh, I should be able to log in now. There you go. So SSH is more secure than Telnet. So if your switch or I mean, most of the routers is capable of SSH, but if your switch is capable of SSH, that's what I would use as well. So now we're done with configuring some of the optional items. So let's go over some of the show commands. So let me do end, and let's do first command that's most common is show run. Either you can go type in show all the way, or if you just do sh and tab, it'll fill that in for you and run. So it tells you this is the actual running configuration that we have right now. We haven't saved it, so this is not a startup config yet. This is just a running configuration. So it gives you basically what ports are configured to what, and just basically running configuration. Um, the other good command is show version, and what that does, it tells you, hey, what the iOS you're running on the switch. It also gives you a uptime saying, hey, when the switch has been up for. So this is up for 15 minutes. It also gave you a serial number of the switch and stuff like that. So that's a good one. Also, the show inventory is also another one. And a good one to use. It gives you the same basic kind of info that show version does about what the serial number is, what the switch model is, and also another one called show environmentals. So I guess this switch doesn't support it. Let me make sure. Yes, env. So it should accept that. Show env. Oh, we have to say all. So it'll tell you if there's a fault with the fan, if fan's okay, if the power's okay. So it'll give you the environmental. Basically, it tells you the status of switch itself. Basically, the physical status. Uh, the other one that we showed you, which was the show logging. So show logging actually tells you what's been collected by the switch, and it hasn't overwritten yet because the buffer is not full yet. Other good one to use is show IP interface brief. So it tells you what the IP address assigned to what interface. So in this case, this is a layer 2 switch. So we're not going to see any IP assigned to any of this port right here. But we can see the virtual VLAN 10 has IP address of .245. If you use the same command with the pipe and say exclude unassign, then all of this will go disappear. Only thing you should see is just VLAN 10. There you go. So VLAN 10, that's the only one you see. Other good one to use on the switch is show VLAN, just to see where which port is assigned to which VLAN. So in this case, we have the management VLAN 10. There's no port assigned to that because it's management VLAN. Then we have the server farm, which is VLAN 20, and we have this 3 port assigned. Then we also have the VLAN 30, which has the rest most of the port assigned, and then VLAN 40, which has these port assigned. If you do the same command with again brief, then all this unnecessary information that we don't really need to look at goes away, and you only see the VLAN information. Another good command to use is show interface trunk. That will show you which port is trunked with what encapsulation and what kind of VLANs allowed. So it shows you all that as well. Some of the command like show interface trunk, it's not going to work on the router. Show VLAN is not going to work on the router. because there's no VLANs on the router. Router is basically open to most of the VLANs. So um, also, if you want to see who's remotely connected to your switch or your router, there's a command called who. So right now it shows that hey, there is only one person connected through a console, and I haven't been idle because I've been keep using it. So if I go back here and reconnect my SSH, then I should see that person in there. So I'm connected. So if I go back here and say up arrow once and say who, there you go. It'll show you right there who's connected. So it says right here, line 1, user is Cisco, idle for 3 seconds, and this is IP it's coming from. Another good command to use is show CDP neighbor. And what that does, it actually tells you what are the Cisco devices connected to this locally to the switch. In this case, we only have the router connected on a port 24 of the switch, and the remote port on the other side is port 00. That's on the router side. It also tells you what the capabilities are. R for router, S for a switch, I for right here it's IGMP. Or you can do same command with the detail, and it'll tell you, hey, what the IP address of the remote device is. It tells you what this also told us what port it was connected. It gives you kind of same information saying, hey, it's connected to port 24 on the switch, but on port 00 on the other side. It also tells you what the model we're using on it, what the model meaning what the iOS is being used on the router. So it gives you that information as well. So let's go jump onto the router and show you a couple more commands on that. Some of these, I mean, this is the exact same commands you can use on a router as well, except for some of the switch command. It's like a VLAN and interface trunk, and you can't use those. So let's jump onto the router. So I'm gonna telnet into the router. We haven't done the SSH on that, so we're gonna have to use a telnet for that. So let's do 192.168.10.254, and I'm gonna connect. So on the router, again, same command, who tells you who's connected for how long, what the IP address is. Um, the major thing that we're concerned about since we're doing Inter-Vlan routing is, are we able to ping other devices? That's the major concern, right? So first thing we want to do is show IP DHCP binding, and it tells you how many devices are connected. Actually has the IP address. So my computer is the only thing connected right now. So it tells you, hey, this one device is connected. This is the IP address. So let me go ahead and plug two more devices in and see real quick exactly what we're gonna see right here. Give me just a second. Okay, so if we apply the same command again, I should see other devices right here. See, it says I have a device connected with the subnet 20.1, other one is 30.1, and another one is 40.1. So let's try to do a real quick a ping and see if we can ping each other. So let's do this. Let's do a ping. So if I do IP config, you'll see that my IP is 192.168. Right there, 192.168.20.1. So let's do ping 192.168. Let's do 30.1. There you go. The next one is 40.1. Oh, the reason for that is because it has the firewall. Let me just disable the firewall. So if I do this again, I should be, there you go. So as you can see, the inner VLAN routing, I mean, it is working between the devices, and so we can connect from one VLAN to the other. So that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed my video, and if you like my video, go ahead and subscribe. See you next time. Bye bye.